Alright, are you guys all ready?
Yes.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Let me microwave my coffee real quick.
Oh,
Okay.
what?
Sorry. I overslept. I don't want to fall asleep in the middle of this.
Hold
Oh my god, that would be hilarious.
up. Let me make some breakfast real quick. Hold on, guys. I'm at the kitchen. I'm like making eggs.
Making
Can
eggs.
you
make me some eggs?
Eggs and
Take that one,
bacon,
okay?
toast.
Okay, well.
Ooh, bacon.
You know what? French toast. Anyone down for that?
Ooh,
Let's
French
start from
toast.
scratch.
French toast party. It's just coffee. It took literally less than 30 seconds. Okay. I'm ready, Graham.
Alright. Hey guys, welcome back. This is New Script on the Block. My name is Graham Pritchard. I am here virtually with Nero, Ashley, and Alyssa. Today we're going to be doing an episode of Before the Scene, and we're going to be reading Ford versus Ferrari. How are you guys all doing today?
Not as great
better.
because you didn't say our last names.
You know what, Nero? I can
Yeah.
never win with you.
He took all your notes. Has Nero become the director of Graham's life?
Yeah,
Oh
pretty
wow.
much.
Can we do another?
No,
Can we
not
can we
doing
do
another
another
one.
one? One for safety, Graham. That was great. I just need one more for safety.
Not happening.
Okay.
Oh my god. God, if Nero directed Graham's life, you'd be repeating the same moment a billion times for like several hours, so
More like 8, alright?
consider. All right.
That's our lucky number, isn't it, when it comes to takes?
No, it's not, by the way.
It definitely
It
is
isn't?
not. No.
I was going to say
Oh.
our average is definitely higher than that.
20 something?
I would say that
No.
our average for moving shots, like any shots on the gimbal, when we were shooting me, were probably averaging around 12 to 14 takes.
Okay.
Without
that's what I
rehearsal.
Yeah, without any rehearsal.
So what are we doing?
Uh,
We're reading a script, and the script is Ford versus Ferrari.
Cool.
We're gonna talk about it, or we're gonna read it. We're gonna briefly talk about it. We're gonna watch the clip, and then talk about it some more.
Yeah, because this is before the scene, right?
Yeah, before the scene on New Script on the Block.
What? Insert horns.
real quick, Nero, since you've watched this one, can you just summarize like what the movie is about really briefly?
Okay, sure. I'll do it very briefly. Here we go. Okay, here we go. All right. So Ford versus Ferrari is about an event that took place back in the day where Ferrari kind of like started this like war with Ford, like calling Ford like basically a trash company. Ferrari itself, like during that time, even though the company was like going to go bankrupt and everything, they were like known as a brand to be like superior. And Ford is just like a brand for the masses, you know what I mean? Like everyone has like a Ford, whatever, you know? So,
Yeah.
but Ford wants to be known as a company that can develop performance vehicles, right? So there's this race in France called the Le Mans, and Ferrari always wins it, and Ford is like, hey, you know what would be a big blow to Ferrari if we won it instead? So that's kind of like the deal. Also, can I plug in something?
Yeah.
There's a YouTube channel called Donut Media, and there's a series within Donut Media called Up to Speed. And if you just look up like Ford versus Ferrari or Carroll Shelby, I think like that YouTube channel does a really good explanation of like historic events when it comes to cars, but they do it in a funny way. It's cool. So yeah, it's just a pissing contest between two companies. It's funny because supposedly Ferrari was being very, very like, they were just roasting Ford, and that's why Ford's like, oh hell no, you know. It's funny because like it's like adults that can't get, you know, they get so what you call it uppity, even though they're supposed to be, you know, like adults and professional and stuff. It's like, nah, that's not how the world works.
All right. Everyone know who they are?
Mm-hmm.
That's a loaded question.
In this context,
in
everyone
theory.
know who they're playing. Yeah.
Hey, look, and on the title, on the pages itself, it says Final Shooting Draft 4/24/19.
Ooh, I see that. I like that.
Wow, that's the
Why
first
doesn't
time I've ever
everyone
seen
do
that.
that?
Yeah, it's like, what script is this?
Yeah, that should be in the header. You know, I heard, and I could be wrong, but I heard when I was in school, in our screenwriting class, our teacher said that they used to always print them in different colors. Like they'd print on a different color paper for each draft so that people knew, oh, we're on the pink draft, so this is the one we're shooting with. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean,
As long as it's
I
easy
think
to
that-
read.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a lot easier to like immediately see. Oh,
We're on the black
you're on
draft.
that script. Yeah.
We're on the black
And the text is black, and you're like, ah, shit.
Yeah, no, they just have it listed in the header. I like that. I think I'm going to steal that idea.
If we can even do that, like on Caltex or whatever, you know.
I don't know.
Just formatting wise, but
I sure
have no
shit will
idea.
find out.
Okay, let me know.
Exterior, Miles' house, Hollywood, day. Miles in running clothes, a bit sweaty. He's carrying a grocery bag, stopped on the way back. That last part is in parentheses, just so everyone knows. A dog yaps at him. Outside his house in the street is a blue cobra. Sitting on the hood, smoking, in shades and a cowboy hat, Shelby.
You were right. It was gearbox. Ran too hot. 3 out of 4 broke. Rob blew on the other.
Inside, Molly is folding laundry. Voices out in the street. The window open. She looks outside.
We're going back.
Miles doesn't react.
They said I got carte blanche. I looked it up, and it's French for horse shit. They'll squeeze our nuts even harder soon as they work out how.
The ice cream's melting.
Claire's
You
telling
want
me
me
I'm
to
being
apologize?
too loud. Sorry. Hold on.
Oh.
I guess I'll just whisper it the whole time. Here we go.
Do you want me to start that over?
Yeah.
Okay. Shelby shakes his head. He's uptight.
You want me to apologize? You want me to beg?
I don't know. Try it out. Let's see how it feels.
Angry. Walks back and forth.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sincerely. I need you. Happy now? I can't do this without you. Do you know the shit I have had to eat just to get 4 wheels on that grid? No, you don't, because you don't too? Whatever.
Yeah, some of this has grammatical errors and stuff, so.
Fucking professional.
No, you don't, because you don't too deal with any of that crap. Now, we don't have time for this. You want to go and get a shower. We got to go. We got work to do. That race car ain't gonna fix itself.
Miles looks at him. He puts the groceries down and punches Shelby in the mouth. Shelby staggers back.
Whoa. Okay.
Shelby laughs, half shocked, half impressed, wipes the blood from his lip, shakes his head like he's going to laugh this off. But then his red blood boils, and he charges full pelt at Miles, picking him up and bum-rushing him backwards into the trash can. He both fall on the ground. They both on the ground. From the window. Molly looks out of the window. She doesn't react, but gives a small sigh. Down on the lawn. A fight ensues. Both men punching, grappling, chokeholding, chin-locking, crawling, the whole nine. All over the front lawn, on the sidewalk, round the Cobra, everywhere. From the house. Molly appears with a deck chair and a magazine. She sets it up, sits, lights a cigarette. Miles picks up the grocery bags and starts throwing cans at Shelby. He defends himself with the lid of the trash can. He hits Shelby with a bag. Ice cream goes everywhere. Molly glances up from her magazine. An old man walks past with his dog.
Morning, Mr. Henderson.
It goes on until both men lie exhausted side by side on the lawn, fighting for breath. Bird song, sprinklers.
Molly, honey,
Yes, dear?
can I get a soda?
You want one too, Shelby?
Yes, please, Molly.
Not for him. Just for me, please. Can he get his own? He can get his own.
She goes inside. They lie there panting.
How long is that now?
Must be 3-4 years.
Out at Riverside?
The SCCA divisional. You broke my finger.
I checked that oil pressure twice.
Bullshit.
They try to regain their breath.
That thing you do, that nippy under the arm thingy?
The llama bite?
Where'd you pick that up? The Girl Scouts?
Oh, you want to go again?
No.
Thank Christ for that.
Molly hands them both a soda.
Thanks, Molly.
My pleasure.
Miles looks at her disapprovingly but lets it pass.
Honey, I'm going to the store for groceries. You want me to get anything special?
Let's see. Ice cream. Ice cream would be good.
See you later.
Shelby pops his soda and takes out his pills.
You still taking those things?
Only because they're just so delicious.
Shelby puts the pills in his mouth. They clink cans.
Go to hell.
On Molly, heading off, looks back at them with concern.
I feel like I'm missing so much context. Also, can Molly see them fighting this whole time? I feel like at the beginning that seems implied, and then, okay.
Yeah, so she can hear them in the street. So, like, after Shelby says his first line, you were right, it was the gearbox. You like see her inside, and she's like, folding laundry and doing stuff. And then once they start fighting is when she realizes it and thinks it's going to be funny to just walk out into the lawn and put up a lawn chair, start reading a magazine, and just watch them just be idiots. So.
Nero, do you want to talk about some of the formatting stuff in here?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the one obvious one was what we kind of talked about. Do you want to go back to that or move forward?
I mean, we've got that. You're talking about the draft listing on the top.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to retouch it, you can. But I feel like there's, definitely a handful of
Cool
specific,
things.
like choices they made here that would be interesting.
For sure. Now, hold on. So, going back to the final shooting draft, 04-24-19. So, they have this as a final shooting draft, but then the grammatical errors are still in. Do you think they just stopped caring?
I don't know. It's all a question of how it works in Hollywood, right? Like, if you get to a certain point in your career where people are going to, let you, or they're going to use your script either way, right? Like, they've already decided that this is the writer we're picking for this particular story. I'm assuming that this story is based on true events. So we can only assume that, I would only assume that it's either an adaptation of a book or of like a whole collection of information from the events that happened. So it's not original content, which means they probably picked a screenwriter that they know and trust, brought them in to specifically do this job. I mean, the guy's going to get paid either way. So yeah, I would say, I think that when you get to that state in your career, maybe you really just don't care if your grammar is perfect.
I think that really bothers me. Like, I feel like they should have an editor or something along with them that can just fix stupid mess ups like that they have. But I mean,
Time is
Yeah.
money, Graham. They can't. They don't want to spend the money to like get things fixed when they're already going to be like, oh, it's fine.
this is very true. Still hate
Well,
it
I
though.
also think like when you're trying to pitch your script, right? When you're trying to get someone to pick it up, it has to have good grammar because they'll literally drop it if it's not really easily readable. But when it's something like this, where again, like more than likely, a studio owned the rights to this story, they were going to film it either way, and then they brought on someone to write this script. You know, I think that person doesn't have to sell themselves as hard because, you know, the studio needs them. So because they don't have to sell themselves as hard, their script doesn't have to be the most perfect, easily readable thing because they're going to get to do the job either way.
Right. Now, okay, so just moving from that, going down the page, there's the inside-outside situation, where, you know, it's still the same scene, but we have inside bold, and it's showing what Molly is doing while the events outside are happening. So I think that's cool.
Can I elaborate on that a little?
Yeah, go ahead.
So for people who aren't looking at the script with us,
Which they should
which
be.
we will, yes, right. We will put a link to the script in the description of our YouTube video on our SoundCloud, and we are page 77 if you want to join us. But the scene starts with exterior Miles' house, Hollywood day, which one is already not formatted how I'm used to seeing, right? Like it's exterior period, Miles' house period, Hollywood period day.
Instead of a dash.
Instead of a dash, right? And then after that, which is confusing because, you know, the scene doesn't actually start at Miles' house technically, right? Like he's outside. So it could have said exterior Miles neighborhood, you know, sidewalk day, but it doesn't. And instead they say Miles' house, and then as you go down, they separate whether we're seeing things that are occurring inside or outside by having a bolded all caps inside dash dash or outside dash dash over top of those portions. Sorry. Oh God, did I bore everyone to sleep?
No. It's just like
No.
I just think it's like inside outside being used that way is just them to quickly associate what's going on without like having to type out the whole thing again, which that
Yeah,
would be
make
like
a totally
assumption.
separate plugin.
You're like,
Mhm.
fuck
Well,
it,
and
you
then-
know.
Especially since this is the final shooting draft, it's probably just, like a lot easier to be like, oh, okay, we're inside the house. Now we're outside the house.
Yeah, instead of
think
having to have a new slug line.
Because I think that's the only time that we actually see that. Because then after that, there's other ones, but they're not bolded, and they're not, and there's no dashes. So, like, from the window, Molly looks out from the window. She doesn't react, but gives a small sigh. Down on the lawn, the fight ensues. And then from the house, Molly appears with a deck chair and a magazine. So, like, those ones there, I feel like should have been bolded and with two dashes, just like how we saw earlier. But they weren't. So
I'm guessing that it's not bold just because it's not a completely different, like, inside and outside. That's like a completely different set. Like, this is, well, I guess if she's from the window inside. I don't know. Never mind. Forget what I was saying.
No, you're right. Like, from the window could be taking place inside from the window or outside from the window.
So yeah, maybe it's
But I
just
think
everything outside isn't bold, but I don't know. That was just me trying to come up with a reason why it wasn't bold, but
well, I think
I
so
think
the
they
last
just skipped it.
Yeah, and we could be wrong. This is something we should look for when we watch the scene. So the last indication is that everything's taking place outside, and then we see from the window down the lawn from the house. So I'm assuming that those are shots that are all taking place outside looking at the house.
mm-hmm.
Like looking at the window. Yeah,
For it being the
script
final
gets-
draft is
yeah.
still kind of wonky.
I think that it's because it's a shooting script, but it gets very specific about the visuals, and so I'm curious with this one, just like all the other ones. Can somebody please do a fact check to see is the writer the director on this one again? Because yeah, like those specific directions, I think are just like, hey, we want to shoot it from here. And again, that's awfully specific. Which don't get me wrong, like I like how it fits into the script just fine, and I think it's easily readable enough.
No, the director's not the same person as any of the writers.
How many writers?
There were 4.
4
And they all
writers?
start. Well, the one that I'm
Jesus.
looking at is 3 writers, and they all start with J. Jez Butterworth,
That's so funny.
John Henry Butterworth, Jason Keller, and the director is James Mangold.
Tip to success, folks. go
Have a
change
J
your
name.
Yeah. I can't believe there were 4
Butterworth.
writers and none of them caught any of these grammatical errors.
Sabotage.
Yeah.
They're just putting it in there.
What do you guys think the underlined statements inside of the dialogue mean?
Okay, hold on. So give me a sec. I'm just trying
Yeah,
to get
bottom
back
of
to that
page 77. Yeah.
I mean, when I read it, it just felt like he was screaming it, and they wanted to super emphasize that for a performance, maybe.
That's how
I mean,
I
like,
read it.
Do you
like-
know the shit I have had to eat just to get 4 wheels on that grid?
Like either he's saying it in a tone that's like either like, yeah, like you said, just for emphasis, or like even right before that, I need you, and then happy now. That happy now has it as well. So is
Yeah.
that like a sarcastic thing? Is it a passive aggressive kind of thing?
I was wondering if it's almost a shooting direction. I mean, it could be totally wrong, but I thought, oh, maybe they're underlining like at the parts where it's like we have to be looking at their face. This has to be a close-up. Do you know what I mean? I could be wrong.
Ooh,
Because
that's valid.
after that, after he says all that, it goes to Miles. Miles looks at him. He puts the groceries down and punches Shelby in the mouth. That sentence is also underlined. Granted, it's in all caps, but it's still underlined. So that could be, like you said, like we have to be looking at Shelby at this point because that's when he gets punched, or we have to be looking at Miles because he's the one who punches Shelby. So it's like, yeah, that could be an easy way to be like, all right, we need to make sure this line of dialogue or this action is on the respective person.
I wish this had, like, I scrolled back to the beginning of the script to see if it, and it has that really cool, punchy title page, but there's no notes section from the writers to indicate whether or not that, you know, what the intent of the underlying sentences are.
So there's no guide.
Yeah, there's no guide. I mean, with Little Women, she had, like, a little note section that said, like, hey, when it's red, it's you know, flashback scenes. When it's,
Oh, that's
you know,
nice.
when I do a dash, yeah, when she does a dash, it means that, you know, the person's dialogue should jump in here. I was just curious because I noticed that consistently throughout the script, and I'm not totally clear on what it means. But
You know what I'm like kind of annoyed by? On page 77, the angry walks back and forth. For some reason,
Yeah,
that
because-
bothers me because it's like it's just angry, walks back and forth.
Well, yeah, and
Am I
like
supposed
who
to-
is walking back and
Is
forth
that
and
Shelby
who
or
is
Miles?
angry? Yeah, exactly, because it's after Miles says his line, but then the next line to be said is by Shelby. So it's like,
yeah,
okay, but which one is angry?
They're both doing it. I mean, they're both kind of angry, sort of.
I guess.
Yeah.
But then also it's, I don't know. We're also taught not to do that, right? Like
Yeah.
setting the tone for the actor. Like, I mean, one, it's implied. Like, duh, they're angry. Like, they're having a verbal altercation. Obviously, they're angry. It doesn't need to be stated. And then in addition to that, it's, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, hey. So with that being said, what maybe this is also like an identifying thing for the shot list or whatever, but when we watch the scene itself, you know, for the line, do you know the shit, you know, that the underlined lines, let's see
Yeah.
if that's consistent for like whatever type of shot it is, if that's
Yeah.
like our guess. On the bottom of page 80 it says on Molly in all caps, so yeah, this is definitely a shooting script.
Mhm.
All right.
But then
well,
that almost makes me question our theory about the underlines, right? Like, if, do you know what I mean? Like, if, why didn't they just underline? Well, I guess she doesn't have any dialogue there.
But she does have the, like, instead of it being like on Molly, it could have just been underlined Molly heading off, looks back at them with
Yeah.
concern. All of that could have just been underlined.
Well, for it being a shooting strip, there's not very much camera direction.
I don't know that that is or isn't the case, though, right? Because, again, if the underlines indicate close-ups, you know, on Molly indicates where she's at. They do specify, like, particular places to be looking at when it's inside, outside, from the window. Like, that feels specific enough to me. I mean, I get that it's not indicating any moving shots, right?
Mhm.
You guys ready to watch the scene?
Yeah,
Yep.
I think so.
This podcast is brought to you by Arizona Studios. Arizona Studios, a full-service video content specialist. We're here to illuminate your message and compel your audience to take the right action. For more information, head to our website at arizonastudios.com and be sure to tune in for more content on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
Well, I think it's funnier watching it.
Yeah. It's
Aw,
Okay.
Graham, our performance, man.
Hey, man, they did a lot better.
Oh, man, you're telling me that professional actors who are Academy Award winners / nominees are better at this than us?
Ah, what shock!
No, I think they added a few other things in the script when they were talking. I think that's what it was. Yeah, like they added the bread part. Other than that, me and Nero were up to par. But
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
he calls it a fizzy pop instead of a soda.
Which maybe
Yeah,
he did that for authenticity, like because
Yeah.
Christian Bale is like from the UK. He's like, hey,
Yeah,
we
him.
call those fizzy pops.
Yeah, his wife, too, like, she called him love or lovely instead of honey, which I think was obviously, again, like a cultural thing.
I like the part where Miles is like, that nippy thing you do, what is that? And then Shelby is like, oh, I call that the llama bite. And then Miles says, you named it? Yeah.
Yeah, and the incorporation of the trash can added to the, like, use of the environment and movement in the fight and making it more of a joke.
well, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
one
'cause
thing.
he even, go ahead.
I was just gonna say one thing that like was really prominent to me, at least in this scene, was when I think it was who was it? Shelby picks up like the can of beans or whatever that is, and like is trying to come up with something to hit what was his name, Miles, but then he puts it down and picks back up the bread instead to hit him with, and it's showing that it's more of like a not like a play fight, but they're not.
Well,
Yeah.
he that's his driver. Like he doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to
fuck him up.
hurt him.
Right, so it's
Yeah.
just like I didn't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember like seeing that in the script.
It was
the
not
script.
in the script.
No, you're not
No.
wrong. They're fighting with kid gloves. That's the phrase. Like, you could tell they're holding back in the scene.
Hmm.
Wait,
Well, and then
what's the phrase
also-
again?
Fighting with kid gloves.
I've never
It's like
heard
when
that.
you're. Oh, it's a scene from Naruto.
Oh, okay.
That's how I know it. It just means that it's when people are fighting, but they're not fighting with their full abilities because they don't actually want to hurt each other.
Oh, okay. That's very Naruto.
Yeah.
So pretty much every fight that Naruto and Sasuke have.
No, that's not. That's
No,
not true.
Definitely not
Oh.
true.
Definitely,
Oh.
they're trying. They're hardest.
Oh, well then, like, never mind.
I don't know about you guys, like this scene went by faster than I thought it would because of the action, so I did not catch on to like the underlined stuff or even like the directions from the window and stuff. Like I don't know if that's
If they matched
actually
up.
Yeah, if they matched up.
Well, I know the underlined one. It was just on Carol. That's all it was, really. I mean.
Mhm.
But,
So when they start fighting and when they start like throwing stuff at each other, so it says in the script, Miles picks up the grocery bag and starts throwing cans at Shelby. He defends himself with the lid of the trash can. He hits Shelby with the bag. Ice cream goes everywhere. So the way that I interpreted that was that Miles was throwing stuff at Shelby, and Shelby was the one who was defending himself with the lid. But in the actual scene, it's reversed. Miles is the one who's holding the lid, and Shelby is the one who's throwing stuff at him. So I don't know if that was just because, like, Miles was the closest to the trash can when he, like, was being thrown into it, so he was the one who picked it up. If it was reversed, they could have, like, it could have been just, I don't know, depending on whoever hit the trash can was the one who threw things at the other person.
Well, I also think all of that could be intentional, right? Like I haven't watched the rest of the movie. I don't know the dynamic of these two or the environment of the story very well. So it's like they could have been filming it, and at one point they thought, oh, it would make more sense because of who they are as characters or the way the story is going if it was reversed.
Yeah.
I just think it's a day of improv. Like, hey, let's do it this way. Just like when they got on set and they're like tried to do the fight scene as naturally as they can, and then they're like making notes of what they should do.
Yeah, because I thought at first the trash can thing was going to be just like, oh, it's because it was in the environment and they're just using things in their environment. But then when I read it, it was like, oh, no, it's actually in there. Okay, cool.
I feel like this is kind of cruel to say, but their age contributes to the humor. Like, if these were guys in their 20s, it wouldn't be nearly as funny. So is this a pretty funny movie, Nero?
There's humor. There's definitely humor, like, spread throughout.
Yeah.
Almost, it's fairly lighthearted. I mean, it's not like, war or anything. I mean, even though they like, oh, let's go to war with Ferrari, it's two car companies. There's not like anything shady going. Well, there's nothing. There's no one. Well, hold on. I was about to say like no one dies, but like that's not true. What I'm saying is it's like it's a car race,
I mean, comparing the script to the scene, there's another thing that I noticed, and it's more of like a background thing. I don't know if you guys paid attention to kind of like the background of the scene, but how pretty much everyone on the street like walked very close to the fight and kind of just stood there, and then when they just like laid on the floor, everyone kind of just started to disperse. And I thought that was
that seems
odd.
realistic.
I don't know. I thought it was odd.
Yeah.
Like, they like walked if they're just like on the street and like looking over their shoulder or whatever, I feel like that would be more realistic. Or if someone tried to stop it or something. But like,
well, I think
walking...
like. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say like walking really close and just like kind of standing there and doing nothing is odd, but I don't know.
I mean, I'll say this just from my perspective. That could be different for everyone, but if I saw a fight like this, like I feel like I would get close only to be like, do I need to intervene? And then when I saw that it was two men in their, late 40s, at least, barely brawling it out, and no one seems to be seriously injuring each other, trying to kill each other, then I'd be like, oh, okay, this is a joke. I don't need to intervene.
Oh, no,
and then when they were done, I'd be like, okay, no one's hurt.
I just think it's
I'm
funny. Like,
leaving.
there's people standing there with their arms crossed and stuff. It's just, I don't know.
Have you ever
Well, and then
seen a
also-
fight in public, Graham?
Uh, no, not just like out and about.
Okay.
Have you?
Yeah.
Did you stand there with your arms crossed as well?
Yeah, and then I dispersed when I thought I saw enough.
Good to know.
Well, were there kids too?
Yeah,
Like,
there's
just
kids at
watching?
the park, and yeah, there's like just natural curiosity, but there's like this thing called the bystander effect, where no one
Oh,
really
yeah.
ever really intervenes unless they like know the person. If they're strangers,
Well-
they're like whatever.
Also, again, like, no one's seriously getting hurt in this fight. It's not like one of them pulled a knife out or something, you know? Like, they're
Yeah.
they're just
He hit him
tossing
with
around,
a
like,
bag of bread.
yeah. Like, I think that it'd be different if we saw, like, a fight that looked dangerous. Then, yeah, I think that there are citizens who would intervene. I just think this doesn't look like a real fight.
You should look up the bystander situation, the effect, or whatever it's called, because it's interesting. Because it was a violent, like, fight, and also someone died, but no one did anything. Cool. Is there anything else that we want to talk about, or
I
wrap
am not
things
going to
up?
lie. I am probably never going to watch this movie.
Yeah, I probably won't watch this movie either.
you guys suck?
After watching this scene, I might watch it. Who knows?
Yeah, I just really hate Matt Damon.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Not as an actor. I just don't like looking at his face. You know what I mean?
Wow. I'm trying to think of an actor that's the same way for me. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, you see them and it's immediately like, oh, this
Turned
is no
off.
longer appealing to me. Yeah. I'm just a bad
Well,
human being.
I know like some people's faces, like actor faces, that are like, ugh, but I still watch it, you know?
Sometimes it adds to the
Like
horror
Cara
of the movie.
Delevingne.
Oh, God. I do not watch things with her in them, but that's not because of her face. It's because of her acting.
Same thing, but it's like. But there's that one show with her and Orlando Bloom on Amazon or something, where she's a fairy.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Well, I've seen the trailer. I haven't watched it. Is it good?
It's pretty cool.
It's
Give
pretty
it a
cool,
shot when
like,
you want.
it's a cool idea, or it's pretty cool, like, she's actually decent in it?
I think she's fairly decent in it.
Mm.
Maybe she got better direction.
Yeah, no, that's true. That can make all the difference.
Anyway, that was a little off topic, but so you wouldn't want to watch this movie even after everything we've been through together on the script, on the scene.
Yeah, I'm going to say no, I'm never going to watch this movie.
Okay, that's
Life's
fair.
too short to watch all of the movies, you know what I mean? You got to be choosy.
Yeah, I mean, one of the driving forces for me to have watched this movie was just the history of that whole fight between Ford and Ferrari.
Yeah, I do think the
That's where
story
my
subject
interests
is
were.
interesting. Yeah.
What was that?
Oh, I was saying I do think the story subject matter is interesting. That's true.
Yeah, and Ken Miles, his background is pretty crazy. And I'll just send you links from Donut Media and their series Up to Speed. And it doesn't
All right, we
feature Matt Damon at all.
It doesn't feature Matt Damon. Awesome. See, now that sounds good. I mean, we can always link. We can always link that in the description on the YouTube video on the SoundCloud as well.
Yeah. Are you a Christian Bale fan?
That's a tough question.
Whoa.
It's hit or miss. Like, you know, obviously, The Dark Knight was amazing. But I did not like American Psycho, so I don't know. It's tough. I've seen him in things I liked. I've seen him in things I didn't. So it's hard to say. And I also, you know, I'd assume that at this point all of us have heard that audio clip of him yelling at that guy on set. I mean, that definitely can make it easy to not like an actor, right?
I don't think I've seen it.
Yes.
You should listen
Oh.
to it, Graham.
Yeah, right.
Everyone
It's been
should
a
listen
hot
to
minute,
it.
but what movie was he shooting when
That's
he
Terminator
said that?
Salvation.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, knowing the backstory of that, I kind of understand, but it was definitely unprofessional for him to do that.
Was it just like an angry moment?
They were rolling camera, and some fucking grip PA person or someone on crew decided to walk across and fix lighting stuff while they were rolling, and it was like a dramatic like scene for Christian Bale to like act in,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't appreciate that, and I think he did it more than once, and then that's when he like kind of blew up, when it was like, hey, why do you fucking keep doing that?
But
kind
he
of
blew
situation.
up.
Yeah, he blew up
Yeah,
hard.
he like went off
Yeah.
on that guy.
And that's also not your place, right? Like,
Yeah.
you are not that person's boss. Their boss is, like, the AD, the technical director, the DP, like, any of those people could have said something to that guy.
Probably should have.
Yeah, they probably should have.
But then it's like,
I mean, he's
would
very
they
sorry about
have-
it. He like apologized and everything.
like, if he didn't actually say something, do you think they would have said, like the AD or whoever was responsible for that person, do you think they would have said something before Christian Bale went all crazy?
If he's cutting into frame and he's disrupting the shot, then I am certain that someone on the camera department at some point would have said something.
Oh shit! It was the DP.
It was the DP?
Yeah, he like fucking blew up on the DP.
Oh shit.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
well then that I can't even begin to get. Like, if they're the DP and they think that a shot needs to be stopped down to do something, then you stop down the shot.
But then why
like,
would you,
that's-
like,
They're in
why
charge
would
of
you
that.
record it? Like, why would you roll on it and then be like, oh, I'm going to go fix this? Like, that's, ugh.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I think that DP was within his right to do that. That's just my opinion.
Did the director step in or anything?
I don't know, but I'll look up all this stuff later. Anyway, that's
We want
Christian
all
Bale.
of the details.
That's Christian Bale and Matt Damon in terms of like how we think of them as actors, and
Yeah, which hey,
and this movie has both of them. So anyway, cool.
So go watch Ford versus Ferrari.
If you're okay with someone that loses their shit and how someone looks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of New Script on the Block Before the Scene. We enjoyed you guys listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Other than that, you will hear us next week.